Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Adam Eisen Show. I'm back to bring you guys episode 12 today after another great week of college and NFL football. We are going into week 18 now, the NFL season, so let's check out some of the big things that are going on in the football world. I want to start off today's episode with my thoughts on the Antonio Brown, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, everything that's happening down in Tampa right now. Antonio Brown, as you guys have seen probably this past weekend, he was back at it again. Seems now it's just his entire career at this point. He had the opportunity to change some things around for himself. He's gotten opportunity after opportunity after opportunity because for the first 9 years of his NFL career when he was in Pittsburgh, if you guys remember, he was literally getting mentions and comparisons to Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice is arguably the greatest football player ever, and people were saying if Brown just kept his head on the field, he could have that potential to be like Jerry Rice. And that's the reason he got the chance in New England. That's why he's gotten the chance in Tampa Bay now. Another reason is due to Tom Brady. But after the Sonny pulled this last weekend, and now we're going through, he put out a 2-page lengthy letter through his attorney, basically talking about MRIs. He named a doctor. He called out text messages, which what the nice part about all of this is by him, what he said in the letter he put out, it's all able to get backed up. Everything he said like 3 or 4 different things in there. The MRI can be backed up. All the text messages can be backed up. What the trainers gave him their diagnosis, whatever they think was wrong with him, that's all backed up. It all has to be saved somewhere in 2022. So we're going to learn the truth. And like what Bruce Arians, about an hour and a half before I was recording this, he came out on a press conference and told his side of the story. He said that Brown was upset that he wasn't getting targets, was upset at halftime. Some teammates calmed him down. And then on the field, we saw what happened. Bruce Arians went over to him, asked why he was upset. Antonio Brown got pissed. He was like, I'm not getting any targets. And Bruce Arians said, F it, you're off the team. If that's the story, it's always important to hear both sides here. It's one of the most important things. But after, it would have been one thing if Antonio Brown just walked off the field and on the sideline walked off the field. The celebration he put on, as he was leaving, no NFL team, it would be insane to me for an NFL team to put him back on their roster. He's, I think, year 12 in the league now. He's still a great talent, don't get me wrong. But he's not like he was in Pittsburgh any longer. And he's an absolute head case. The Bucs actually just released Antonio Brown. I didn't expect them to release Antonio Brown. It's kind of like in an ugly breakup. You never want to, even in an ugly breakup, you never want to see your ex with someone else right after. And I thought that's what the Bucs were doing. I didn't think they wanted to see Antonio Brown go sign for, say, the Rams, and they end up facing Antonio Brown. But with what he pulled, and if the MRI and all that stuff's true, then it was made sense for them to cut him, go ahead and free up the roster spot. But what AB accused them of an ongoing cover-up, it could be massive, it could be nothing. But with all the stuff coming in, there's something going on here, and with us going into week 18, Tampa is in such an interesting position right now because Tom Brady's already lost Leonard Fournette. Gronk's been banged up the whole year. The guys that have made him comfortable, like I was talking about last week, Tom Brady likes to be comfortable. For 21 years, all he was comfortable in New England, and then he comes here, he brings a few guys to keep that comfort, to not lose what he knows. And now another one of the guys he brought is gone. Goodwin's not playing. There's not a lot for Tom Brady anymore. And for this situation to be happening week 18, it is going to take some serious mental focus for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for Tom Brady, Bruce Arians, everybody involved, to be able to get past this quickly and understand that the playoffs are right around the corner. The chance to compete for a Super Bowl is right around the corner. They had an extremely weird game against the Jets. They barely won with a Tom Brady game-winning touchdown. And the Bucs last year, they were shaky, and then they had this surge into the postseason. This year, they had that surge, but the last 2 or 3 weeks, they've been falling off absolutely massively. And it's not looking good for the Bucs. This Antonio Brown situation was the last thing the Bucs ever needed to happen. And now this entire week they're going to be dealing with that media and all that stuff. And it's going to be a thing now for the rest of this season into the postseason. People are going to be talking about what happened with Antonio Brown. Even if they make the Super Bowl, it's still going to be talked about. What if you had Antonio Brown? Just stuff like that. It's still going to be brought up. That situation has left its mark on this season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whether it go good or it go bad. If it goes good for them, it'll leave far less of a mark. So going on to another team that has seemed to fall off a little bit the last couple of weeks, a lot of people are quick to get on the Chiefs. They've fallen 1-4 against current AFC playoff teams this season, and that's the big stat I've seen this entire week. And I'm here to say, absolutely not. The Chiefs are still they're up there with the Titans. I'm going to talk about the Titans in a little bit with my favorites in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes, by far, is starting to spread out the ball more, like we said he needed to do for the last 6 weeks or so. Everybody's starting to get healthy. Things are starting to get back to normal. The Chiefs are hitting their stride at the absolute perfect time, and they ran into a red-hot Bengals at home. Joey Burrow's throwing what feels like 400 or 500 yards a game. It's ridiculous. And as much as I'm a Rodgers MVP guy, Joey Burrow deserves some MVP credits. Rodgers was in this position forever. Rodgers had not, the ownership was being terrible. Ted Thompson, the GM, was being god-awful. No help on defense. Mike McCarthy was a bum. And it was obvious that he was the MVP. He lifted a franchise that shouldn't have had more than 4 or 5 wins with the front office and the ownership and Mark Murphy and everything surrounding him. He took a team that shouldn't have had 4 or 5 wins into a 12-win team. And Joey Burrow is doing a lot of that right now. Bengals have arguably the worst ownership in football, up there with Jack Easterby, Jets, all that. And they have no more indoor practice facility. They've been letting Joey Burrow get absolutely murdered at the behind the line of scrimmage. He gets sacked like no other quarterback in the league. And he still lifted this franchise, helped to lift it along with Jamar Chase, Higgins, Joe Mixon. They've helped. And that's why Joey Burrow deserves a little bit of MVP credit in my eyes. He has lifted this franchise. With 1 week left, I don't think Burrow could catch up on Rodgers, even if Rodgers set. His MVP stats for this year are just absolutely amazing. But give Burrow some credit. He has played very good this year, and for a franchise in the Bengals, who have not had anything for a long time, it's good to see him smoking cigars and all happy after the game. But back to the Chiefs. In no way do I think people should be worried about the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to be absolutely fine. Let them get into the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with who gets the 1 seed. I think for sure that Tennessee's going to lock it up, but if they somehow do fumble the last game, I believe they're playing Houston, then the Chiefs could come in there and snatch the 1 seed. But it's not a team you can write out. I understand 1-4 against current AFC playoff teams. They're red hot. They have Patrick Mahomes, and they have a very good offense, and their defense has been incredible. The 2 big defensive turnarounds in the NFL this year have been the Chiefs and the Packers. Both defense were playing awful until week 7, 8, 9, and a big turnaround happened. Shout out to the defensive coordinators out there getting the turnaround happening and getting the Chiefs defense back to a Super Bowl caliber defense. Another game I want to look at from this past weekend, Raiders versus Colts. I say it every single week. It's like Wentz magic at this point. I've been saying it. They lost to the Raiders. Jonathan Taylor had another 100-yard rushing game, and they still lost, even though they haven't lost yet when Jonathan Taylor has a 100-yard rush game. So first loss when that happens. And in my opinion, like I've been saying, it comes down to the magician on your team, your point guard, your quarterback to make the play in the fourth quarter to go out and win you the football game. That's what the Colts do. And I've already been comparing way too much to the Packers this episode, so I need to turn back a little bit. But I'm going to use them one more time. The Colts remind me a lot in a similar spot the Packers were in a couple of years ago. Matt LaFleur, the first year he came in, we went to the NFC Championship game. They are a very, very good team. Their point differential is not that high. They can win games due to their quarterback. Their team can keep it close. What matters is at the end of 45 minutes, it is 20-19. It is 20-17. Something like that. Something close. So your magician, your point guard, your QB can go out there and make a play and go win you the football game. That's a quarterback's job in the fourth quarter. He's to go win the football game. One of the best guys in the NFL with that is Matthew Stafford. And a lot of people have been coming out against Matthew Stafford this past week or so and said, the Rams aren't going to end up being legit, all this. Absolutely not. Matthew Stafford started off the game terribly, and he started off with a pick six and then falling right after another pick. And we're able to see from this, the Rams are able to overcome very bad mistakes. And that's a rarity in the NFL, where you can have so many mistakes early and you're still able to overcome and win. And the reason they're able to do that is because their quarterback doesn't have a low ceiling. Things you can't overcome in the NFL is injuries, COVID, and low ceilings. There's a couple quarterbacks in the NFL. I love Tua, but I'm going to bash on him here a little bit. Tua has a low ceiling. That's why we see the Miami coaching staff come out the way they do. The second Tua has the first good play, they're like, okay, we got to pull out all our tricks, all our gimmicks on this drive, and be sure we get a touchdown because our guy, he made the play we were waiting on. When you have low ceilings, you can't look at the Dolphins this past weekend. When you have a low ceiling, you're going to lose 34-3 against the Titans, a very good team. That's just what happens. But they can go out and beat an Ian Book-led Saints. Matthew Stafford had the interceptions. When you have talent like he does, you can overcome things much, much quicker in today's game. Today's game's way more about passing, and it still has a run. You always have to run the football, but it's a lot more sped up. It's a lot more about the pass, and the rest of this team kept it close. So in the fourth quarter, one of the best guys in the league when it matters, Matthew Stafford came out, went 8 for 8, and had 155 passer rating in the fourth quarter. That's how. Go ahead, go out, throw a pick six, and throw another pick. If my quarterback is going to go 8 for 8 and 155 passer rating in the fourth quarter, it's on the rest of my team to keep that game close. There's 50 other 2 men on the roster. You keep the game close until your magician, your point guard, your QB comes out and makes the play. And that's what Matthew Stafford's good at, and that's what Carson Wentz is starting to get to. The Colts need to move out of that a little bit. It's the Packers have gotten out of it since then. We've started stacking up points on more teams, and the Colts just have a lot of close games. They fully can beat any team in the playoffs this year, but it's not going to be comfortable, and they're going to need some magic. That's just the way it is for the Colts this year. And the Rams, they have the magic. And the fourth quarter this season, Matthew Stafford, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's great. That's exactly what you want. He leads the NFL in second half passer rating, so he leads the league when it matters. Like I said, I can deal with an occasional pick from Matt. What you don't want to deal with is guys who have low ceilings, like Tua, like Tebow did, like a lot of people think Mac Jones has. Which, Mac Jones, if you look at him, could have a low ceiling, but he doesn't have so low of a ceiling, and he has such a good coach by his side that I think the Mac Jones low ceiling argument I don't like. With Bill Belichick by your side, you're going to have a completely different game plan every single week. You're going to be mixing up those teams. You're going to be mixing people up. Teams are going to be guessing what you're doing. You're going to have some of the best coaches in your corner at all times. So, don't have a quarterback with low ceilings. Moving on, I was just talking about Titans versus Miami. Miami let me down big time. I was a big fan this whole year when they went on the 7-game win streak. I know I'm bashing on Tua. Believe me. I've loved Tua since the day he walked into that national championship game and led the comeback for Alabama. That was awesome. Watching that was great. And I want to see Tua succeed. But he has the low ceiling. The 7-game win streak was basically for nothing now, which that's just the way the sports world works. And the Titans now find themselves in a very funny position, honestly, for me, that they could end up here. Derrick Henry, back in week 9, went down. Titans still now control their own destiny. They could get the 1 seed if they win this week. And Derrick Henry has the ability or option to play this week. He might not play. He might just get a few snaps. And then he'll play more in the playoffs. He'll get another week of rest. If they get Derrick Henry back for these playoffs, it was kind of like I was talking about this with the 49ers a few weeks ago. When Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, I was saying Trey Lance is going to come in, and it could be a whole new playbook. Kyle Shanahan could have been working on this little red notebook in his desk for the last few months. And it's just this playbook designed for Trey Lance. He's waiting. And then now he has the opportunity to go use it. It could be a whole different playbook that not one team in the NFL has film on. We have never seen before. And the Titans, while there has been film on Henry, they're going to be able to bring Henry in. If they use him right, bringing back in a force like that, I don't think people hated on Derrick Henry a lot because he had the most carries in the NFL by a mile when he went down. It was ridiculous how many more carries than he had for anybody else. And I don't think that's what Tennessee should do. Tennessee has they found it last year too. They found their good passing game. A.J. Brown went down, Julio Jones went down, and somehow their passing game kept getting better. And now A.J., Julio, people are coming back, and it keeps getting better. Titans, look out for the Titans, especially if they get the 1 seed. They have not had a home AFC championship game, and Tennessee would be wild, and I think it would be really fun to see and great for Titans fans. I'm going to jump back over to the NFC now. I'm going to talk about Packers a little bit. We've been very interesting situation. Packers have the 1 seed all wrapped up. A lot of people are saying that they should sit players. Oh, they shouldn't sit players. They should. If you guys remember, back in 2011, the Packers were 14-1, and they ended up going 15-1. The Packers had the 1 seed all wrapped up, rested their players that week 17. Then they had the next week off. Then they had NFC divisional round game in Lambeau Field against the Giants and Eli Manning. And for the first half, they did not look like the Packers of that year. And they weren't able to overcome that in the second half. That's what I don't like about resting players. In Man in the Arena, Bill Belichick talked about it a little bit, or Tom Brady talked about Bill Belichick and his idea behind week 17, week 18 resting players. It was basically these guys are getting paid millions of dollars. Their job is to go play a football game, so they're going to work. They should go to work. If they're healthy, they should play. I don't think anybody should sit this week. After half of football, if we're up 21-0, I want Rodgers' ass on the bench. But at least for one half of football, they should be playing, and starters definitely need to be in. Special teams, maybe might have gotten fixed. David Moore was signed just the other day. He immediately came in and had an absolute massive impact for us. Averaged 11 yards a return and had a great punt return touchdown called back at the end of the first half on a holding call. Sorry. That wasn't even necessary to the play. And Money Mason, thank God, also seems to be back. He's hitting his field goals again, not shanking them to the left like he's been doing, and stuff seems to be getting back to normal for the special teams. I'm still deathly worried. Every time the special team steps on the field, I get extremely worried. And hopefully they get it figured out. I think that's going to be the Packers' flaw. It's like everything's going so good for the Packers right now. It's like I'm almost expecting something to mess up. Something's going to happen. I don't know. It's just my feeling. The only thing that I think could get in the way of the Packers is the Packers. They're a high emotion franchise, especially this season, and I can only hope that from the last 2 seasons they learned and get over the hump this year. We got Aaron Rodgers sitting at the top. Hand Aaron Rodgers the MVP trophy. If he didn't play this week, if he didn't play this upcoming week, he didn't play week 10 because of COVID. That means he has 35 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 4,000 yards, and a 13-2 record in 15 games. It's ridiculous. I love it. Not from the fact, I'm happy he's getting MVP. I want the Super Bowl first. Happy he's getting an MVP, though. I'm more happy that Rodgers is sticking it to all the people out there, like the Chicago reporter that came out the other day, said, I wouldn't give him my MVP vote because he's not a leader, all this stuff. Rodgers straight up called him a bum on the press conference. It was great. I loved it. And Rodgers, the way he's acting this season, the way he's playing this season, if we win the Super Bowl this year, he's for sure going to be back. I bet everybody's talking this week, is he going to retire? Because he says some cryptic stuff like he always does. Aaron just loves to stir stuff up. I've accepted it at this point. That's just the way Aaron Rodgers is. And he's definitely not going to retire. That's just the way. He's playing too good right now. I get him wanting to leave after a good year. This is a great year. This could be his greatest year playing football ever, and this is the best year for him mentally ever. He's already said that, so that's not me pulling that out. Best year for him ever mentally. He's the happiest he's ever been. Be ready for Aaron Rodgers to continue to be a Green Bay Packer next season. And the last game I'm going to talk about before I just get in one little situation, I'm sure you guys will like it. It'd be funny. Cowboys versus Cardinals. Now, Cowboys, it was an interesting day. Dak had his guys. Kyler didn't. And Dak was 3 for 11 on third down. If you look at the past Super Bowls, it takes A-plus quarterback play and A-plus running back play. Cowboys have B's in both. They also have a mid coach. I hate Mike McCarthy. I'm always going to trash him. It doesn't matter what he does. They're also in the worst division in football. They went 5-0 throughout the worst division in football, the NFC East, and are 6-5 against the rest of their opponents. And on the road, Kyler Murray, without a bunch of his guys, impressed me way more than Dak did and looked like he should be getting Dak's money. This is what scares me about Dallas. I've said I've kept Dallas in my tier 2 almost this entire year. They have the opportunity in the playoffs. What's going to be hard for them is playing 4 straight games. I don't think I've seen 2 straight games from the Cowboys where they played 4 good to great halves of football. I'm not even talking amazing, good to great. They are messing that. They will go out and score 35-0, follow it with a 3-point half. It's very strange. It's like it's a lot of emotion. It's the same thing with the Packers. There's a few franchises in the NFL that are high emotion, high stakes, and they have a sort of level to them. Like, you have to meet these standards, or else you are it is going to be a toxic environment for 1. A bunch of people are going to lose money and get fired for 2, and the fans aren't going to be on your side. Like, the Cowboys fans aren't going to be nice if their team's not good. So, with those types of expectations is emotions get hot, emotions get high in Dallas. There's a lot of money. It's the richest NFL team there is, and they just bounce back and forth. And I don't think they would be able to go into the playoffs with B's at quarterback and running back, in my opinion, and a B at coach and go win the Super Bowl. They don't have an A on the field except for Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons, and their defense is great, but Trayvon Diggs has also let up over 900 yards this year. He's got a lot. Some people like to really hate on Trayvon Diggs. I think he's great. He's an amazing player. But look at how many yards he's let up this season. He has let up a lot of yards this season. So, speaking of franchises with a level to them, with set expectations, the franchise in the NFL with the least amount of expectations, most likely, there's a few others out there, but the Browns, it seems like I'm talking about them every week at this point. I'm honestly kind of tired of it, but Baker Mayfield gives people a reason every single week to talk about him. He had 10 straight incompletions, and he calls out medical staff, calls out coaches. The 10 straight incompletions was the longest of any quarterback this season. And he has the lowest interception and completion percentage since he came into the league. He bet on himself. He's an egotistical guy. And imagine if Baker Mayfield would have gotten surgery and if Baker Mayfield would have signed the massive contract he was offered in the offseason and didn't bet on himself like some guys do and have an ego. He went and signed his contract, went out and played football. He probably would have gotten that shoulder surgery. And stuff would be a lot different for Baker Mayfield. But yet again, the Browns find themselves in one of the most interesting places their franchise has ever been in this offseason. It's like each year it builds, and it just keeps getting more interesting. I don't know if the Browns will for sure move on from Baker. The shoulder is definitely going to be a big part of it. But you don't see these other young guys coming out doing these commercials, doing just being the big personality Baker is. Baker said, oh, that's just me. No, it doesn't matter. You're an NFL quarterback. Guys change. Mac Jones has changed more this year than anyone else in the league. Look at a press conference from day one to last week. It's ridiculous. And going back to my standards, the Browns don't have standards. They don't know what to do when they get good, for one. Just last year, this quarterback took you to the playoffs. Their fans booed Burt Baker this past weekend. The quarterback is the last person to get booed on a field, I can tell you guys. And the fans wrap their arms around a quarterback. They'll boo the coach, they'll boo wide receivers, they'll boo the refs, anybody before you go after the quarterback. They're booing the quarterback. Baker's relationship, after everything that's happened with OBJ is clearly loved and favorited with the Rams. I think come next year, he's even going to be better with the Rams. It's going to be ridiculous the amount of potential he has with the Rams come next year. And Baker finds himself one less wide receiver, ripped apart shoulder, and out about $100 million he could potentially had. However, my playoff predictor, I got one big game I'm going to take a look at this week, and that's going to lead me into my picks of the week for this week. Chargers versus Raiders. They flex this game to Sunday Night Football. They do this every year, and I get excited every year about the last week of the NFL season, the game that gets flexed Sunday Night Football, because almost every time there are two teams who are going head-to-head in week 17 or 18, whatever it may be, and playing for the last playoff spot. And Chargers and Raiders, Sunday Night Football, that's what's happening. Whoever wins goes to the playoffs. Whoever loses, going home. You're basically starting your playoffs a week later. You've got the Raiders, who have fired John Gruden halfway through the season and have somehow stumbled their way into this spot. I'm kind of surprised they're here. And also, I heard this past week, and I want to give Derek Carr a little bit of credit. This season, Derek Carr has lost his coach got his best receiver taken away from him by something that hardly ever happens in the NFL. I'm not saying an accident or anything like that, but something that hardly ever happens to someone. Got his best receiver taken away from him. Dealing with all this stuff with the Raiders. John Gruden's still making noise. And Derek Carr's got his team in the position to make a playoff push, which is really impressive, and he's definitely one of the most valuable players in this league. For his team, he's definitely the most valuable player. And on the other side, you've got the Chargers, who have seemed to be everyone's favorite team at some point this year. They've been my favorite. I've come on here one or two times, and the Chargers are it. They're it. And then I come on here the next week, that they've lost it. It has been a complete emotional roller coaster for its fan base in the NFL this season, and it's going to be a really good game. I'm liking the Chargers to come out of this game personally. I just think they have the better roster and the better quarterback. When you're 17 weeks into the NFL season, going into week 18, everybody knows the plays you're going to run. You've already run all of your plays after like week 12. Sure, you can make some new ones, but especially in the Raiders' case, new coach, all that. They know your playbook. They know what's coming. So it comes down to the better quarterback, the better coach, and the better all-around team. And in my opinion, I think that's the Chargers. That's going to take me into the picks of the week. And Chargers at Raiders. Chargers are favored by 2.5. I got to take Chargers 2.5. Carolina at Tampa. This is a very hard game for me because of everything that's happening with Tampa. I went on a big rant about them to start the show today. It's hard for me to side with Tampa here. But in no way ever will you see me siding with Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, and the Carolina Panthers. Tampa -8 all day. Bears at Vikings. Vikings are favored by 2.5. Vikings, I believe they're out of the playoff bubble now. Might have a chance to squeeze in, but I'm pretty 99% sure they're out. And they're favored by 2.5. It's at Minnesota. I like Vikings -2.5 here. I think Kirk's going to go out, put on a performance for the last game on this contract deal for him. And it really, like I said about the Chargers and the Raiders, at this point in the season, everybody knows your plays. Everybody knows what's coming and what's going to happen. So with the Bears at Vikings, especially it being in division, they've already played once, comes down to the better coach. Matt Nagy's already lost his job. Matt Nagy's fired. Mike Zimmer, slight chance that he hasn't lost his job. And this game is going to help him not lose his job. So that's why I have Vikings -2.5. Football team at Giants. I've been looking every week because I've been wanting to bet with the football team. I like them. But still, I am going to bet with them this week. Football team -6.5. Makes me worrisome. The good news, I think, if the Giants were a lot more fighting for their jobs, I think it'd be different. But we know Joe Judge is going to be there next season. Most likely Daniel Jones and most likely David Gettleman. So, it's weird. They're not getting put in a we must win situation. And the football team, I think Heineke's going to go out there if he plays and go get the dub and beat him by 6.5. 49ers at Rams is going to be my final game for Week 18 of the NFL season, my final regular season picks. I'm going to be picking every game throughout the playoffs, so don't worry. I'll have those coming out weekly. So 49ers at Rams. Rams already have their playoff spot all locked up. They could still move around, jump around a little bit. But the 49ers are very much in a fight. I talked about them last week, talked about them a little bit this week. Kyle Shanahan's got that special red book that he's got in his desk that he's been hiding that is the playbook for Trey Lance. And they're going to come out here, use Trey Lance. The 49ers are going to have a lot of fight about them. And they're going to come out and cover the 4.5-point spread. So with my picks of the week, I got Chargers -2.5, Tampa -8, Vikings -2.5, football team -6.5, and 49ers +4.5. And also a quick note on last week, We went 4-1 through the picks again, another week above 500, so be sure to be betting with at the Adam Eisen Show. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode. Be sure to head over to the Instagram to check out all the dope stuff that's been going on there before next week's episode 13. Thanks.